and let us all do we can to build a better future. Forever, keep an open eye on it, open ear to it, and follow it along. I do believe that the Democratic primary should have debates in it. I want to see these debates take place. But now something interesting is happening. Now, we do know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign has gotten a lot of support from Democratic voters, independent voters, and yes, surprisingly, Republican voters. As it stands, he has 20% in the polls right now, and it seems to be that's going to keep on rising up. However, something now is also catching my attention, and it has to do with a statement that Tulsi Gabbard said on a previous show that we covered, that eventually big money should get involved in RFK Jr.'s campaign, and it looks like it's happening. Asking why rich Silicon Valley tech donors are backing Robert F. Kennedy when the DNC is blocking him. Now, we all know how I feel about money in politics. It's bad news. But to run an election, you need money. I don't know what to really make of this, except for the fact of, okay, you're getting donations from rich Silicon Valley tech donors. To quote Donald Trump from the first Republican primary debate in 2016, when asked about money in politics, Trump proudly said, "I give these people money and they do what I say." These people being the politicians and him having the money. So I will have to ask, what do these rich Silicon Valley tech donors want from RFK Jr.? So I want to play this video and let's find out and make our own conclusion. Because as we all know, in this day and age here in the United States, anybody can buy a politician. With money being speech and corporations being people, everybody's open for sale. And I do mean everybody.
And they are backing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for the 2024 Democratic Party nomination. Your next two guests have done extensive reporting on this. That's Puck News' Teddy Schleifer and Axios' Dan Primack. Dan, start with you. Listen, the Democratic National Committee has basically said there's no plans for debates. There's no plans for a primary. President Biden, as of right now, is your nominee. And, you know, what do they say in Caddyshack? You'll get none and like it. I mean, why are people backing a candidate where the Democratic National Committee has basically said no chance?
There's a couple of reasons. One, the folks who we're talking about here in the Valley are kind of iconoclastic, contrarian sorts of people. So this is kind of what they do. A little part of it is probably to throw a little bit of chaos into the mix here. I mean, one of these people is David Sachs, who is also supporting Ron DeSantis. He said if it was Kennedy versus DeSantis, he'd have a high-class problem. But they're kind of throwing a little bit of monkey wrench into it. And there is a feeling, I think there is a little bit, at least of sincerity, in terms of a belief that Biden maybe might not be up for the job for 4 more years.
Okay, I want everyone to take note, especially going forward. If you haven't done so already, remember the 2020 primary. I know if we have to go back in time, but remember this. There were points where corporate media acknowledged Biden as a flawed and terrible candidate. And the DNC establishment was throwing whoever they can at the wall to see who could stick. They always ended up right back to Biden. First it was Kamala, then Bet on My Stork, then Pete Buttigieg, then Amy Klobuchar. None of them stuck. None of them had what it took. They even threw an old Bloomberg, and that failed miserably. But let's be very clear here. There is something wrong with Joe Biden. And while corporate media was circling the wagons around, especially the early days of the Biden-Harris administration, as we are getting close to 2024, and while it is still 2023, notice again, everyone's saying the quiet part loud, but we already know it. Biden is stuttering. Biden is stammering. He is showing his age. If he gets reelected, he'll be the oldest sitting president in U.S. history. He's not fit for the job. He's not on point. And so, yes, DNC, congratulations. You kind of put yourself in a corner because everyone's going to be talking about it. Is Biden fit for the job? Is Biden fit for the job? Kamala's approval rating is in the toilets. This isn't open for a debate. This isn't open for interpretation. Polling numbers show that voters want somebody else other than Biden. And Kamala's approval rating is in the dumpster. Hell, it's in the garbage pile. That's where it's at. It's in the city dump. That's where her approval rating is at. So this isn't open for a conversation. So, of course, donors are probably looking at the bigger picture. Yeah, there might be some people who say, I don't want to see Trump get reelected, but he has a large following amongst Republican voters. So if you're a Democratic donor, you want to go for somebody who's stronger. And so we're going to witness a little bit of a push and pull. Now, again, the DNC has made it very clear who they want as their nominee, but the DNC establishment already has a narrative, and RFK Jr. doesn't fit it. So what we could be witnessing here is the beginning of a fight between oligarchs, a fight within the Democratic Party, rich people versus rich people, which I, for one, welcome and enjoy. At the end of the day, we still won't win, but it does open up the possibility of, will there be a debate? Will hashtag force the debate start trending more amongst voters? Because I don't care, vote blue, no matter how Biden makes you feel, especially after he won in 2020. He's not fit for the job. He's showing signs of his age, and he doesn't have what it takes.
And a belief that the Democratic Party should have some sort of competitive process, or at least that Biden should have to prove himself before the general.
Let me throw this out, and I don't have any idea how this. I was a political science major, no idea how it works. Is there a chance?
You're a political science major and you don't know how it works? Why the hell are you going to admit that live on air? God damn it. Follow the script, you idiot. Never mind. Again, corporate media. I not only will I dance and celebrate on the grave of CNN, I will dance and celebrate on the graves of MSNBC and Fox News too. Okay. I'm again, just throwing it out there.
RFK gets enough momentum that he gets a debate.
I mean, there's certainly a chance, right? I mean, this ultimately comes down to polling. He's, best case scenario is kind of in the low 20s in certain cases, a lot of which is probably name recognition and he's the other candidate more than anything else.
Now, in case you did miss it, we do have uploaded and pinned to our YouTube page the entire Twitter Space event that was hosted by Elon Musk that featured RFK Jr. If you haven't done so already, please check it out. I will post the link in the live stream chat. But folks, again, I do believe in force of debate. Now, I'm not voting Democrat, but voters need to hear from all the candidates. And if the vote blue, no matter who people think that Biden is their go-to guy, then he must be ready to debate. If you believe he is strong and confident enough to do so, then he must face off against RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson. The American people need to see if Biden can handle himself in a 2-hour debate. We have to see it. Because that's supposedly the leader of the country, right? He should be able to handle this, right? Make it happen.
Else. But look, if he was to start polling very, very well and maybe was able to get some more
And again, RFK Jr. is at 20%. All right? That number has been increasing since then.
Or mainstream support, particularly from folks inside the Democratic Party, some actual elected officials, not just Silicon Valley tech moguls or VCs, then possibly he could get that. Yeah.
Teddy, I think we have you now. I mean, is this like a throw your vote away thing, or do they really believe there's a shot here?
Well, look, I mean, David Sachs and Jamal Hayaptia are spending much more time, much more energy boosting their actual candidates. Ron DeSantis is the favorite candidate of David Sachs. Sachs is very involved with the DeSantis campaign. Jamal Hayaptia, I've reported, is likely to host a Nikki Haley fundraising event in the coming months. That's where the energy in the party is.
Now, there's more to this video, and I want to share it with all of you as well. Because again, look, we need to talk about what the overall legacy will be. Can there be a debate? Can Kennedy potentially get enough people to support his campaign and actually really challenge the DNC? Now, the DNC, as we've said before, they rig primaries. I'm prepared to see the same thing happen in 2024 as we saw in 2016 and in 2020. Now, I did send an email to RFK Jr.'s campaign to have him on our show. The most recent email that they did send me was that we are on a list. I don't know where we stand on the list, but look, we want to ask you some hard-hitting questions. whether or not you're ready for the election fraud that will take place, whether you've taken notes and heard the advice from Tulsi Gabbard in regards to what the DNC will do to you. Are you prepared to take this all the way and make this a contested convention? These are things that we need to ask RFK Jr. We'll see if he responds, but we did our due diligence to reaching out to the campaign. Hopefully they get back to us.
And that's where the energy in Silicon Valley is. It's behind kind of the, what I call like the backlash to progressivism. And I suppose Robert F. Kennedy is like a sort of a backlash to Bidenism, obviously, but the energy that these two people are going to be spending is on the right. It's going to be in primarying Trump. And, sure, look at some headlines that, these are both people who like to throw monkey wrenches in, as Dan pointed out. But ultimately, this is not where the real presidential elections can be decided. Sachs is going to be very involved in kind of getting money to DeSantis. Chamath will get money to Nikki Haley. The role of Jack Dorsey, I know he's in the image a minute ago. Jack does not weigh in on politics at all. And the fact that he is being so vocal about RFK when, he doesn't say anything about, the Elon's destruction of his company, but on RFK, he'll weigh in. Look,
and Elon and Jack Dorsey, who I don't know if they have a relationship or maybe they hate each other, maybe like each other, I don't know.
No, they're very close.
Okay, because Elon hosted this thing. That's a lot of reach.
All right, so here's the thing. We did cover the event, and we posted a link in our live stream. Here is the situation that we are seeing with RFK Jr. He's able to gain traction. But I do want to have democracy in the chat, though. I want to get an honest feedback, and let's be respectful of each other's opinions. All right, we're not all going to agree with each other, but type 1 if you're still in support of RFK Jr., that you believe that the campaign will still be authentic, even though he's getting support from a lot of rich Silicon Valley donors, and that this is probably what it will take for a force of debate. Type 2 if this has caused you to be hesitant to maybe support RFK Jr., or is that maybe just sit on the sidelines and see how this thing plays out, because you remember 2016 and 2020 and how those Democratic primaries played out. I want to see how the audience reacts to it.
Jack Dorsey and Elon Musk are basically endorsing, and I know Musk hasn't endorsed it, but by hosting a Spaces, it's kind of an implicit endorsement that there is momentum here. And then we look at the polls that show that even a majority of Democrats say, 2 years is a long time from now.
Yeah, I was going to point out, I think, obviously Sachs and Chamath are rich, and, they can put $3,300 into their campaigns or maybe $100K into the super PACs. But really their influence in Silicon Valley, frankly, has more to do with their podcasts and their money. Like the fact that Elon Musk has, 140 million followers, and he's putting RFK into the mainstream media conversation. I think the fundraiser doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's really that these VCs and these tech celebrities have sort of become media personalities, frankly, more so.
Yeah, but they're more popular than the Jagoffs in corporate media. So let's be very clear here. There's no denying that Ron DeSantis' announcement on Twitter, then RFK Jr.'s town hall or conversation on Twitter Space got a lot of attention. And I do hope that Elon Musk will be consistent and do the same thing for, yes, Marianne Williamson, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and even the third-party candidates like Dr. Cornel West of the People's Party, whoever the Green Party nominee will be, whoever the Libertarian Party will be. Because, again, Twitter Space and social media is showing that it's far more relevant in our lives than the Jagoffs at BSDNC or CNN or Fox News. There's no denying that, again, we are all interconnected to the World Wide Web. This isn't open for a debate. This isn't open for a conversation. So, yes, it does make an impact.
So almost like a colleague of any of us than they are just another rich guy with a checkbook. Really, their power is almost as influencers and less as donors.
So I want to pull up another video, too, because, again, RFK Jr.'s campaign is gaining a lot of momentum. There's no debate for that. Again, one thing I have to be critical of is what is his campaign prepared to do against the DNC, as they will probably once again play the same games that they did in 2016 and in 2020. But we did get a Rockfin super chat from Roger Meadows, who wrote, "Money is a hammer. It could be used to build or destroy. Problem is we look at the big money too much, aka the hammer, but don't focus on the wielder of the hammer, the source of where it comes from. The problem is not the money, but the wielder. aka corporations in Wall Street, which is using it to destroy us. Instead of getting money out, replace the wielder with a new one co-op and public banking finances and use it to build a real movement. Shout out again to Roger Meadows. Now, I want to play this video here too, because again, look, the DNC establishment has made it very clear. Biden is their nominee. Now, the RNC is going to be asked a question, is if she's afraid that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be getting Republican and independent votes. And I want to pull up something from 2016, or once again, remind you guys about 2016, especially during the Democratic primary. What corporate media failed to do in its job was ever speak to Republican supporters, Republican voters, conservative voters that would have supported Bernie Sanders, some of which were actively supporting Bernie Sanders because they liked his message better than what Trump was offering them. And so the thing is, what I've at least noticed from RFK Jr. is that he will say things and break away from the party as much as he can within the neoliberal system, more so than Bernie Sanders ever will. Now, again, there's a lot of things that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has stated that I disagree with. And now I'm not going to be voting Democrat, but we could be witnessing something here to where even the RNC could potentially be crapping their pants. And again, huge shout out to Case Study QB. If you're not following him on Twitter, please do so. He's responsible for uploading those videos that we saw. His Twitter account is, again, wrongly being censored, and it's by the previous administration. So Elon Musk, please uncensor Case Study QB. Please do that. We would appreciate it. We would greatly appreciate it. Let's play this video.
Look at a New York Times headline. I usually don't look at New York Times headlines, but this one struck me. Robert Kennedy Jr. with Musk pushes right-wing ideas and misinformation. Now, I got to tell you, it's rich that the New York Times, that was pushing all kinds of misinformation on the pandemic, on Hunter's laptop, not to mention the Russian hoax, is calling out others on misinformation. But some Republicans, like even our own Greg Gutfeld, says he might change parties or at least vote Democrat in the primaries just to vote for RFK. Watch this.
I can't believe how much I like this person because I never could stand the Kennedys, but I might have to switch my party just so I could vote for him in the primary, because I honestly do think he is a serious breath of fresh air.
So RFK could get a lot of Republicans, a lot of independents. Who scares you more to run against, Biden or RFK Jr.?
Oh, I think Biden has a machine behind him. I mean, they're just going to hide him in the basement, right? And run.
Yeah, so again, Biden. Okay. Now, I know there's a lot of brain dead people that will vote blue no matter who and vote for Biden because they got to stop Trump, the great evil of our time. I say that sarcastically. Look, okay. Again, I understand how Trump triggers people. And I understand that a lot of people view Trump as their own personal antagonist because that's a mental illness of Trump derangement syndrome. People view Trump as what they're going to resist against him. But here's something that's going to keep you up at night. Did you know that there are far more evil people out there who put on this neoliberal mask that you'll never know, that are far more brutal, far more tyrannical than Donald Trump? Some of them are in key positions of power. Some of them have been elected in office so many times. They're that friendly old face in the U.S. Senate and House. Sometimes the greatest evil isn't the twirling mustache villain that's in the shadows. Sometimes the greatest evil and villain is one that hides in the perceived light. That's right. There are far more evil people than Donald Trump. Just remember that.
Run out the machine, and he'll have so much.
Sometimes
so much
machines lose. Look at Donald Trump in 2016.
Yeah, this is the New York Times trying to downplay RFK because they know how weak Biden is. I mean, this is what they're doing. They're trying to say, oh, he's like a Republican, to try and make sure Democrats don't vote for him, because this is what they're doing to protect the weakest president with very low unapproval, who's changed the whole primary calendar, who's not going to debate because he's so unpopular. Even his own party doesn't want him. So the New York Times is doing Biden a favor with that article. I'm not worried about running against either of them. I think Republicans are going to have the right candidate. We're going to win the White House.
But it's
all right, hold on. Let's have democracy in the chat. Let's have democracy in the chat. All right. I'm not asking this is your own opinion from your own perspective. I'm not asking you to vote. Let's say Biden's out of the equation. RFK Jr. somehow somehow becomes the Democratic nominee. And he's facing off against whoever the Republican nominee, be it Trump, DeSantis, Nikki Haley, whoever. Who has a stronger chance in getting elected into office? RFK Jr. or whoever the Republican nominee will be? Type your answer. You know what? Better yet, let me make it better. Let me make it better for you guys. Who has a better chance of winning? RFK Jr., Trump, DeSantis, or whoever else? Type in your name. Type in the name of the person that you think has a better chance of winning, be it RFK Jr. or whoever the Republican nominee will be. Type in their name. I'm just curious to see your thoughts. I'm not asking you to vote. Just who do you think if in a hypothetical matchup?
A very different strategy running against Biden, who represents the far left of the Democratic Party, or running against RFK Jr. Could you switch depending on who is the final contender?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be RFK Jr. It's going to be Biden, and we're preparing for that. And let's make sure we.
Public domain writes in the live stream chat, billionaires, and shout out to Mastermind Hour and Bad Cookies who say Afro Man.
We beat him, and that's why you've got to go to bankyourvote.com.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. Awesome. Vote for the two-party system that's screwing us over. How wonderful. How special is that? How beautiful is that, right? Screwing us all over. So I think there's a couple of things we can take away, especially from the two-party system, and especially from RFK Jr. running. He's gaining more support. And this is still, again, we're still in 2023. It's still not the election season yet. The primaries, states, it's not time to vote yet. Not time to vote yet. But he's gaining momentum, and it cannot be ignored. Because let's say RFK Jr.'s campaign is still gaining momentum, and his percentage in approval gets above 20%. Let's say getting to 30, 40, dare I say it, maybe 50. Then the Democratic parties are going to be a little bit of a quandary, because they can hide Biden in a basement. And Simone Sanders, remember how she was doing all those mental backflips and cartwheels in front of corporate media? You see, the thing is, if Biden's not speaking, people are going to be asking questions. And the more RFK Jr. makes his face public, as he shows up on independent media, which he should be doing, as he shows up on other shows and making his presence known, the DNC, even though we all know they're going to be rigging the primary, they're going to be stuck with their old horse, Biden, a senile old goat. I urge everyone to really be following this election cycle. We here at Hardlands Media will be covering it. And yes, we will be at the convention in Chicago in 2024, because after all, Hardlands Media is from Chicago. We will be covering that event. I think it's important that we know what's actually happening and cover this story in its full entirety. Because now more than ever, the American people need to see just how corrupt our neoliberal system is. And I wonder just how far RFK Jr. is willing to go to challenge the Democratic establishment.